Good afternoon, everyone. Before we announce our new head coach, I wanted to make quick comments, thanks, and recognition for our previous staff. Haven't had a chance to do that in the last couple of weeks, but I do want to recognize and thank a group of really good guys, guys that did a lot of good things at this university and a lot of good things for this department and for this football program. And chief among those things, top of the list of things that they did was they recruited some really great quality student athletes, young men of great character, young men that are committed, young men that are excited about this university, and I'm excited about them. These young men have a great future, both on the field and off the field, and that's a tribute to what our previous coaching staff has did, so I wanted to thank them and recognize them for their work. As we turn the page and look forward, talking about this search, I spent the last almost 2 weeks now talking to people around the country, people at all levels of football, people at all levels of university administration, and shared with them what we were looking for, the qualities and characteristics of the right leader for this program. And over again, in addition to a number of other people that I heard about, I kept on hearing the name Jay Norvell. Over and over. As I move forward in the process, and again, talking to people around the country, talking to people about what we're looking for, I kept on hearing the same thing about Jay. And these are leaders of our industry, leaders of college football, leaders in highest levels of university administration, leaders in the NFL. And the same words were being used. And the theme and the pattern is really important to us. They describe Jay as a man of great character, a man with incredible integrity, a man who's a great teacher and role model, and a man who is loved by his former players. That's important stuff. People told me, if you had a son, you'd want your son to grow up to be like Jay Norvell. People told me, if you had a son, you'd want him to be mentored by Jay Norvell. People told me, if you had a son that played football, you'd want him to be coached by Jay Norvell. Absolutely amazing. Everything we talked about over the last week or so was about his character and integrity and the type of human being he is. I haven't mentioned football yet, have I? Right? So we started asking questions about football, right? And again, these are people highest levels of the NFL, people at the highest levels of university administration that have worked with Jay, people that have coached side by side with Jay, people that have hired Jay, and they said there's no one better at teaching the game of football. Right? He played defense in college, he played defense in the pros, but he spent the last 28, almost 30 years coaching offense and perfecting offensive football. And he's now seen as one of the preeminent voices, one of the preeminent people in offensive football. And he wrote a book, right? You haven't read it yet. Go out to Barnes & Noble. He wrote a book about the wide receiver position. He was identified as the one person in the country that should speak to being writing the book about wide receivers. That's how well thought of he is in this world. He's just a remarkable person. So I'm absolutely thrilled for our student athletes. I'm thrilled for our university, and I'm thrilled for our community to introduce you to the next leader of Wolfpack football and the new head coach of Nevada football, Mr. Jay Norvell.
Thank you, Doug. Let me just start. I have some family members here, and I want to take a minute to thank them. At the top of the list, this would by far be the hardest part of what I have to say today. At the top of the list, my wife, Kim, of 20 years. People ask what it's like, the job of football. football is a lifestyle. It's not a job. It's not something that you punch in and punch out. You never punch out in football. And my wife has been with me every step of the way, and I just want to thank her for her support, her sacrifice. My son Jaden is also here. I'd like to thank him just for, again, his commitment to me, his support of me, and sacrificing me. I'm so proud of the young man you're becoming, and I want to thank you for your support. And lastly, my mother, Cynthia, and my father, Merritt, who came here all the way from Lansing, Michigan. I am who I am today because of them. And I have a brother, younger brother, 6 years younger, who's an actor in Los Angeles, who couldn't be here today, but he's here in spirit. And I want to tell him how much I love him, but thank you so much for your support of me over my entire life. Thank you very much. I really would like to thank President Johnson. So impressed by him and Doug Knuth, the way that they handled this search. I've been through head coaching searches before, but I just really appreciated. They were looking for a man of fiber, and I'm very, very humbled that they chose me. But I would like to thank them and everybody on the committee. I'd like to thank the past players and coaches that I've worked with that have made me who I am today. The list, I could stand up here all afternoon and talk about all the great coaches that I've worked for, both at the college and professional level. The great owners that I worked for. I'm not far. I used to work for the Oakland Raiders, and of course Al Davis was there. All the tremendous people that I've worked for, all my players who I love so much. Thank you so much to all of them for them making me who I am today. Just some preliminary thoughts about scheme. Doug mentioned, I've come from a spread offensive attack. That's what we'll do here. We'll play up-tempo. We'll play a spread offense. We like to use tempo as a tool. The other thing, I had a great meeting with our team and our players this morning, and I wanted them to know defensively, we're going to pressure. We're going to get after the quarterback. We're going to take the air out of the defense, the coverage, and we're going to play tight coverage on people. Special teams will not be neglected. Our best players will play special teams. I was teasing our guys. I said, you could be a 2,000-yard rusher and you could be covering on kickoff. It may happen, okay? They got a little chuckle out of that. But I wanted him to know that we're going to be an aggressive football team. We're going to be extremely creative. I want our fans to come to games not quite sure what they're going to see in a positive way, in anticipation of watching us play. For a program to have success, you can't do it alone. And we need the support of everybody. We need support of Doug, our athletic director. We need support of our local community and our student body. And we will be active and out in our community. And I'm anxious to meet our students and our student body and make them feel part of our great program. There's a tremendous energy on this campus. I felt it this morning meeting with our players. I hope they felt it from me. Because I'm extremely excited to get going. I have great respect for the tradition of this program and the great coaches and players that have played here, and we will honor that on a weekly basis. And I've talked to Doug about some of the ways that we'll do that. The University of Nevada is the flagship program of the state. It is our charge to make it the flagship program of the Mountain West Conference. And that's what we're going to go to work to do. A couple other things, our students, we want our students to live a championship life. That means academics, that means in the community, and that is also on the athletic field. So, we will have the highest standards for those areas of their life. I told the players this morning that as our job as coaches is to love our players. And their job is to love each other. And if we do that, there's nothing we can't accomplish. I'm a product of my family. I told Doug this, I told President Johnson this, is that, you know, I am who I am because of my family. I'm very proud. I always had support. I was lucky. I had 2 parents in the house. They disciplined me. They challenged me to do great things. I was never afraid to fail. Never afraid to fail. If I jumped out of a burning building, I felt like my family would be there to catch me. And that's what I want for our football team. I want them to feel the same way. I want them to know that they have coaches and teammates that will love them and take care of them. I talked to them about 3 principles. They know how to start the meeting now. That's good. Respect, accountability, hustle. That's our blueprint for success. And we talked in detail about those things. But we will have a roadmap. I promised our players that we are going to hit the ground running. They want to win. And there's a responsibility that goes into that. And we talked about that. And it's my job to remind them of the goals that they told me about this morning, and I'm excited to do that. Lastly, before questions, I just want to say this, is that they've been playing football here for a long time. Before we got here, they're going to play long after I leave, long after all these guys leave, okay? This is our time. This is on our watch. What we do while we are the caretakers of this program, history will look back on. So that's our charge, is to get to work on all it takes to make it a championship program. With that, I will take questions.
Why do you feel like this was the right program for you?
There were so many qualities. After meeting with the committee and meeting with Doug and the president, I just was so impressed by the way they handled it, the questions that they asked. I've coached with the Oakland Raiders. I've coached at UCLA. I've lived on the West Coast. Even when I coached in the Midwest, I always recruited. And when I was in Texas, when I was in Oklahoma, I always came out here to recruit. So I've got great connections in Northern California, in the Inland Empire, in Los Angeles. I always wanted to coach at a school that had a great recruiting base, and this has a great recruiting base. Our proximity to California, the state of Nevada, Arizona, I think in talking with the great former coaches, that we can tap into Texas even maybe, okay? So I'm really excited about the quality of athlete we can attract here. I think that's one of the reasons I'm standing here, is because I have a lifetime of networking. You know, and the coaches that I'll hire, these guys didn't just start having relationships in these areas. They have a lifetime of relationships that they can tap into, and they can hit the ground running. They're not going to have to start from scratch. I think that's key. I don't have any doubt, you know, with the success that Coach Alt had here, that this can be a championship program year in and year out.
You were an assistant for 31 years, I guess. What did it feel like to be offered a head coaching job at the FBS Division I level?
It was pretty special. I was caught a little bit off guard at the timing of it, but it was very special. It's very satisfying. I sat down with some of my players at Arizona State yesterday, and I told our players, transition is never easy. It's hard, and I'm sensitive to that. If you're a person that is relationship oriented, it's hard to change. But that's one of the things I told my players. I told them about, I've had opportunities before, and for whatever reason it didn't work out. But if you stay the course, if you treat people right, good things happen. And I've always believed that. I've always trusted that. And I've always tried to be the person that I wanted to work with, that I wanted to be with, and aspire to the people that I respected. And so, man, that's a credit to my upbringing. I mean, that's was expected of me. So, and we'll do the same thing with our players.
Congratulations, Coach. Again.
Thank you.
You mentioned Coach Alt's great tradition that he brought to the school, and you also mentioned your offensive type. You're going to be implementing an up-tempo spread. Now, with Coach Alt's great success, are you going to be implementing any of pistol as well?
We've actually used pistol over the last several years, and it's kind of evolved. So, absolutely, that's part of the attack that we've used, and I think it's been very helpful, some of the things. So I think you'll continue to see some of those qualities in our play.
Now that this search is over and this is official, what's your first step going to be? I know most football coaches don't like wearing suits. What's going to happen the first thing?
Today was probably the most important thing. I love talking to you guys, but the most important thing today was talking to our players. And that was the first thing we did today. I met with the leadership council and then met with the team. I couldn't be more encouraged after meeting those kids. Very clear what they expect, what they want. As a coach, my job is to see that their dreams and aspirations are realized. That's what I've done my whole career, individually and collectively as a team. So we're going to go to work on that. We got to hire a great staff. I'll only be as good as the men that I can convince to come here. And I have had an army and avalanche of people that would absolutely love to coach at this university. People that have coached at the highest level in the National Football League, people that have been at Power 5 schools and won great championships and coached in some of the similar bowl games that I have. It's very exciting to think about the staff that we could put together. And I have no doubt that we could put together an incredible, dynamic recruiting and coaching staff.
Coach, I understand you have a relationship back here. I understand you have a relationship with Coach Alt. How much do you think that made you aware of this university and maybe led you ultimately to taking this job?
I mean, Coach Alt is, I've been a guy that has loved offensive football. And everybody in America wanted to talk to Coach Alt when Colin Kaepernick was running all over the place for the 49ers when he first got into the league. And so I was one of those coaches. I was one of those coaches that wanted to understand more of his scheme. So I've met him in the past. I hold him in high regard. I think it's very similar to when I was at Oklahoma and Bob Stoops. Barry Switzer lived 2 blocks from the stadium and was very, very much a part of the program. And I know how much Bob respected him. I have similar respect for Coach Alt. I really do. He reminded me of my college coach, Coach Fry, who I love dearly, and a true gentleman. So I respected what he accomplished here. And our charge is to have this program be at a championship level on a consistent basis and honor the time that those guys were here.
Any other questions, Coach?
Now, Coach, something that's been ignored in the past, you have teams like San Diego State, Boise State, and other schools coming into the area, taking local recruits and kind of ripping them away from the university when they've kind of been ignored by the university.
Well, number one, we're gonna have an immediate presence because it's here in town. I mean, we're gonna have coaches that obviously have children that go to those schools, but we're gonna make the state of Nevada our number one priority first. And that's gonna be important for us to do immediately. And then we'll branch out to California.
You talk about trying to make the premier program in the Mountain West Conference. What's it going to take to be able to get that done?
We got to have great coaches, and we got to have great talented players, and players that are willing to sacrifice. And I told these guys this morning, you know, practice matters, and we're going to have the highest standards for practice. And so we'll start off with that when we get back from winter break with winter conditioning, and starting to work on that with our kids. But practice really matters, and then we got to get the very best players. You know, to win at the highest level, you need playmakers, and I spent a career getting those types of players, the Ryan Broyles, the Kenny Stills, the Sterling Shepherds. Those kids are all tremendous playmakers that can do great things. You know, we need to find those types of players at every position, whether it's quarterback, receiver, running back, defensive back. So very, very excited to do that.
Anything else to coach this time? All right.
Thank you.
Everybody.